Good evening, everybody. Vermont dog trainer Ian Grant here, and Tuesday 8:15. Sorry I didn't get into here last week, you guys, because I was sick, a little under the weather. So look, I want to get right into this tonight because this has been something that has been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and this is this rules of play thing, which has been on the forefront with a lot of scenarios that I've been in lately. It's been, we've been busy with President's Week, school break week, tons of boarding dogs, tons of daycare dogs. Like, it's just been, we've been almost at max every day for a while. So I've had a good chance to see some new dogs start to interact with some other dogs that they don't know yet. And this is where this rules of play, I almost wanted to call this rules of engagement because I felt like that was a good title to this. One thing I have come across, I'm hitting this hard right here, right now. One thing I've come across is that when dogs start to be curious about one another, like if once they start clicking, it's interesting how they develop the rules first. So we've had a couple of dogs with us for evaluations and also boarding dogs. So we had this dog, Blue, with us that was a boarding dog. Very energetic, very playful, big dog, like 90 pounds. Over the top, kind of excited. And we've had to, settle him down. Well, we separated him with a bunch of other dogs. One of them was one of my assistant trainers, Matt, his dog, Nala, a Ridgeback. And Nala's a fantastic pack dog. She will step in when we need her. And she will also step in sometimes when we don't need her, and that's when we have to kind of teach her to back up a little bit. The first thing she did with this dog, Blue, was settle him down, and I wish I had video of it, and I don't because I was just so caught up in the moment. We had him just dragging a leash because he wasn't showing us anything that was, aggression. We didn't have to, micromanage him. However, she was not afraid to move into him and let him know he needed to settle down. Now, when he settled down, finally, and it was probably a few minutes, she would move in, just a rah, 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 rah kind of barking thing, settled him down, and then he kind of picked back up again. So she would come right back in, do the same thing again. He'd settle down. Once he settled down, she started to move in, and then she started to initiate some play. And that was so cool to me because that was the first time. It's crazy. I've been doing this for 12 years. This is the first time I realized this, even though it's probably been going on for over a decade. I just didn't know exactly how to either recognize it or how to understand what was going on. But now that I've been able to see these moments broken down into these smaller steps, now I'm starting to see more of it. And this was probably a week and a half ago, and I've seen it 2 or 3 times since then with other dogs. So after he settles down, she actually was starting to initiate play with him. And then they played. But even in the beginning of play, it wasn't like okay, I like you. Blue's like, okay, I like you, let's play. Boom, 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 boom. It wasn't like that. Nala actually kept creating boundaries this whole time during play. Over and over and over again, there'd be a little bit of play, rules, play, rules. And it really got me thinking on how they do this. If you think about it, if you have no idea what the game of baseball is all about, you are completely foreign to it. You have no idea. You have no idea there's a field, a bat, a ball, a glove, bases, pitcher's mound, you name it. You have no idea. But I walk you out onto that field and I say, go ahead and go play. You have no idea that there has to be teams, how many players, what bases you're supposed to run, when, at all. Now I'm going to hit you hard with something. That is the exact same thing we do with our dogs when we bring them home to our house. This is the game, the house. You have no idea the rules, but go ahead and go play. So at that moment, we're more interested in teaching the dog how to play a game that they don't know how to play. Go ahead, go explore the house. Go sniff the bedroom, go sniff the living room. Go outside, there's the kitchen, there's the bathroom, wander all around And there's no structure to this whatsoever. But when two dogs come together, it's all about rules first. Here's the game, but here the rules are taught first, even before the name of the game is started. And it could be play, and it could be tug, it could be whatever game that they're playing at that time. But instead, the rules are established first, whether they're corrections, communication, growls, teeth, eye contact, body language, you name it, all those different situations. So the rules have been established to start with, and then the game can slowly start to be played. And then it can be played more and more and more. It might get intense, and then you get another one that corrects the other dog to bring the intensity back down. Again, rules of the game. So, to kind of reiterate, this is what happens. We go out and rescue a dog, we bring it home, we don't even tell the dog that there is a game, that there are rules to be played. Instead, we say, here's your bat, here's your ball, here's your glove, here are the bases, here's the field, just go do your thing. It's very confusing if you think about it, because in the dog world, it makes sense that there's constant structure around. Right? So when that rescue dog comes home, when the puppy comes home, we aren't thinking rules. We're thinking, oh, we have a wonderful place for this dog to live, and we're gonna love this dog, and we're just going to coddle it, and it can get up on the furniture, and it can pull me down the road on leash, and it can bark at the neighbors or bark at the cars. Do you see how things can get lost in translation here? There is nothing in the beginning that tells the dog, this is the structure you need to follow. These are the rules of the game. And then once the game has been taught, then you can provide all the love and affection that you want in the world. We do things so backwards because we're thinking that our home is truly what the dog needs. Well, shelter is what the dog needs, but priority is structure. That's all there is to it. Now, so this was Blue and Matt's dog Nala, about a week and a half, 10 days ago, I don't know, whenever it was. So since then, we've had a couple of evaluations happen. One was the dog that I put up on the Facebook page this morning, this dog Pablo that we had yesterday. So Pablo came to us. I don't think he's even a year old at all. He's an Australian cattle dog. And he's had some bites or nips onto some men. And, in the same breath, he also hasn't had time around other dogs either. And by the way, Lynn and I, our latest podcast should be out hopefully tomorrow. And we talk a lot about this social pressure thing. So, the thing is with a dog with social pressure, there's this buildup. And even in a dog that's 10 months old, if they haven't had an opportunity to be around other dogs since they're litter mates, there's this buildup. Dogs are social. It's no different than me telling you, you have to stay in your house from November 1st until April 1st, and you can't see anybody. That's all there is to it. Now, some of you may go, wow, that sounds wonderful to me. Not to see anybody and not deal with anybody, that's great. Well, and you're saying that now, and maybe you'll make it through, and you want that kind of thing. And then there's some of us that are going to be like, a few months without seeing anybody? Now, dogs have this innate need and desire to be with one another. They're a very social animal. So this balloon of social pressure just slowly starts to inflate. Now, at 10 months, this balloon isn't huge. However, there is still some desire from this dog to be social with other dogs. So Pablo comes in, he spends the first couple of hours, which is our routine, spends the first couple of hours in the kennels, in the perimeter of our daycare room, so they can still see, observe, learn. Plus, we can watch him, and we sit back very nonchalant. We don't really engage, but we're still watching to see what reactions that the dog gives. We have to look at it from an observation point of view, not a we're going to micromanage you point of view. So, after a couple hours, we let him out to go to the bathroom a few times. After a couple hours, this guy hadn't shown any reason for me to think that he was aggressive. And We finally got him into our very, very large kennel, which is kind of the next step up from a smaller one. Now he's got more space. Now he can move back and forth. There's more dogs that can come up to him. Again, nothing from him whatsoever. And I firmly believe that some of these nips and these bites are some social pressure. Now look, social pressure can come from some strange dude going up and trying to pet your dog and reaching up over the top of him. That's a pressure. There's a lot going on. You want to kind of, the dog wants to back up from that. So what happens from there, once we have that dog in that kennel, then I bring the dog out on leash just to be able to observe him, to see what kind of interactions he's going to have. Well, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes later, I can't remember the exact time. I go by what the dog gives me. He started to relax, made some really good decisions. Sniffing was great. It looked like he had social skills. So again, remember that balloon isn't so blown up that it's gonna pop. This is like just the start of this balloon, right? It's like when you blow into a balloon once or twice, that's it. That's kind of him. There wasn't enough of a buildup for there to actually be a reaction. And I just dropped the leash. And then you guys will see on that video that I posted earlier this morning that he and another dog, Autumn, just were so soft and so gentle with each other. However, I'm gonna go back to the beginning, we'll circle back around. Their interactions to start with were very, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing? Well, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like that. It was the rules were established first as they're dancing around each other and trying to get to know each other. The rules and the structure were established first before the actual game was being played. So it was super cool to watch that whole scenario unfold in front of our eyes. And I'm hoping to start to capture more of this stuff on video for you guys to see, because now that I'm aware of it, I think it's something that needs to be taught to people out there of how to understand what this looks like. And look, different breeds, different ages, different levels of social interactions and skills and everything. Man, it is like there's a lot to take in and a lot of information to understand body language wise as far as what they're showing you. So now I'm gonna kind of put on another layer of this today too. So I had a private consultation with this wonderful family. They've got a few German Shepherds. Well, two of them do not get along. We have an 8-year-old German Shepherd, all right, and we have a 4-year-old German Shepherd, both male, both neutered. They do not get along at all, right? And there's been some lunging back and forth and everything. Well, I met with them a few months ago and I said, look, let's get these guys trained and conditioned to a muzzle. Let's just get them used to that because we want to make sure things are safe. And then we'll schedule a private consultation. Again, remember me, I'm going to be the guy that's going to take things slow to start with. Go slow to go fast. Some people may say, hey, just let them go out there, let them figure it out. I don't think that's the good idea. Then there's other people who go, hey, just put the muzzles on, put them in a room. They can't hurt each other, again, not good. To me, that's not a good state of mind for either one of those dogs to be in. So we did some work with the 8-year-old Shepherd in our driveway on the leash. Serena helped me out with the 4-year-old, and it's crazy to be aware of this kind of stuff now. So look, I had this 8-year-old Shepherd, and I had the 4-year-old Shepherd kind of come up to me. Serena handed him to me so I could walk both of them for a little while. And then the leash didn't feel right in my hand. I had to have her switch leashes. So at that time, the dog was hanging out next to me, the 4-year-old. Well, I had the 8-year-old. Well, what does this older Shepherd do? He sits there and he starts to bark in a rhythm. Woof, 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 woof. Has a cadence to it, right? Woof, 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 over and over again. Well, that represents frustration. So that immediately tells me there's frustration here. Now, the flip side of this is that these dogs are less than 10 feet apart, and the 8-year-old's barking, roof, roof, roof. He's not lunging. He's not going after that younger Shepherd at all. So now it's like, okay, this isn't aggression at all. Things can certainly get created and happen that way, but it's not aggression. So now this guy, now the 8-year-old, he goes through this woof, 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 and then he kind of does like this head shake, like this woof, rough, right? Like you could see he's just like, come on, what do I have to do? What's happening here? And then that bark turns into this woof, woof, woof. He's throwing his chin up over and over and over again when he barks. And look, I want, this might be one of the most important aspects of body language that I've learned about dogs in the past 8 months than I have probably in the past 5 years. This is a very social bark. And forgive me if I've talked about this before, but I have to reiterate because I think it's that important for everybody to understand. When dogs start barking and they're throwing their chin up, this is a social bark. Now, it could be a negative social, it could be a positive social. We have to figure and decipher all that. The fact that he was within 10 feet of this 4-year-old shepherd and he's rough, 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 right? And now we have rhythm and we have a chin going up in the air too. So now we have 2 things that he's giving me. Plus he's standing still. He's not going backwards and he's not lunging towards that other dog. So both Serena and I looked at each other and we're like, social pressure, right? Social. This is all social. It's a buildup. Well, so this 8-year-old shepherd has never been around other dogs. They just rescued him 5 months ago-ish, somewhere in there. And he hasn't been around other dogs. So remember that balloon that I'm talking about that has this social pressure, this desire, this urge, this need to be around other dogs? Well, in this 8-year-old, this thing is like blown up. I mean, it is like the balloon that you can almost see through because it's just like, it is going to pop. Something's going to give. Either it's going to pop with an explosion of some sort, or it's going to just deflate and hopefully just kind of do the kind of thing. Well, it's my job to get it to kind of just deflate. So once we kind of realized that, I was able to explain to the owners, this isn't aggression, okay? So, however, we did some walking. They were walking together. Things were going well. We had about a half an hour still left in the lesson. So I'm like, let's go into our training room. So this is where the magic really started to happen. Now, this is a big room, okay? 50 by 20. I kind of felt like I needed something, a common denominator of some sort to maybe open up their noses a little bit, all right? Because we have to open up the noses for them to become curious, even though they know each other. Still want the noses up. I brought Gemma in, right? My puppy. And so the 4-year-old was very standoffish, right? 8-year-old is still kind of a little bit, not a lot. Like it's starting to come down. Now, after they kind of sniffed Gemma and Gemma sniffed them and things started to kind of dissipate a little bit, I'm holding on to the 8-year-old. The 4-year-old actually takes a couple of steps towards me. Amazing moment. It was subtle, but the guy, the 4-year-old, who's always like, is this guy gonna come at me again? What is this guy gonna do? I'm so sick of this guy. Which, that social pressure can be so built up that it can just be so much energy. It can be like the annoying person that keeps talking to you right here, right? They wanna be your best friend. They will do everything in their power to be your best friend. Meanwhile, you are like, back up, I am sick of this, get out of my space. And this is kind of what's going on between this 8-year-old and this 4-year-old. So I kind of just kept doing this back and forth thing with the leash with the 8-year-old. Gets to the point where the 8-year-old and the 4-year-old get their heads this way, right? I pull the 8-year-old away. What does this guy do? He starts sniffing as the 8-year-old walks away. This 8-year-old's social pressure is so built up that he needs a release of some sort. He needs this, like, he has this desire to just get it out of him. And look, the owners have some work to do at home, but this is a part of hopefully them being on the right track eventually to just them being together in the home. But it's going to take some time. That's all there is to it. You have to start walking them together. They're going to have to start being in the same room together without reaching each other, supervised. But I was thoroughly impressed with how the dogs reacted today. It always feels good when I feel like I've got a good read on a dog, and then it's like, it's not that I'm proven right, but it just kind of comes out that it just worked out well, and you know, the things that I did leading up to it worked out to the point where the dogs actually are like, hey, we can be near each other without anything bad happening. And it's just, it was just a cool moment. So this is what I mean by rules, right? So now, once we have determined that this 8-year-old shepherd has all this pent-up social pressure, the rules still have to be established, probably from the 4-year-old eventually, but with each other. So even though they're getting next to each other, we got to get them to the point where they can be like this, they can coexist, but then be able to communicate that, hey, I don't like that, back off. And it's going to take some give and take back and forth, as it normally does with dogs that are social. So having that like dynamic at home can be difficult, but I think it also can be very rewarding, because when they finally settle in, I think it can be a really cool moment for them to like look at it and go, wow, they're actually hanging out together. Even if it's on muzzle, you guys, that muzzle at home is going to help them out immensely, which gives them access to, if something happens, they're just gonna, as the owner put it, they're just gonna club each other with their paws, and that's it. But it's been a cool like week and a half. Like, it's been to look at the dynamic of these dogs, the relationships, the social stuff, their body language, and really have an understanding of what they're going through has been very, very cool to see. Also very cool to read as well. Anytime you have that feeling, knowing you know what that dog is thinking, and then it just kind of comes out and they prove you right, it's like, whew, that's money in the bank as far as I'm concerned. So look, I've got a couple minutes here, you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free. I'm going to keep yapping here. So let me know if you have any questions about any of the stories that I just told, about social pressure, anything along those lines, or if there's just something that you have going on. I'll see if I can throw some little advice at you. But we've been crazy busy for a while now, and like I said, for a few weeks. This is like the start of our year, even though it's, you know, we're 2 months into the year. President's Week, school break in this area for us, it's kind of the winter break, kind of gets things going, and we're cranking busy. So it's given us also the opportunity, like we had some dogs that were here that were not difficult or aggressive or anything like that, but we have to keep an eye on them so it doesn't get that way. And I think my staff did a hell of a job with this group. And now that the dust is starting to settle, a lot of these boarding dogs are heading home. The energy level actually today was the first day where the energy level was just kind of like, ooh, kind of slowing, you know, coming to a halt for a little bit. And it's nice to get those breaks too, because sometimes it just, you go and you go and you go and you go and you go, and you don't get that, like, here's that one day where you just need to, like, let's just regroup, we'll kind of take a breath, and then we'll get going and get ready again. So, yeah, it's been pretty crazy, but I've got no qualms, I've got no complaints about it whatsoever. It keeps us busy, and tomorrow we're stacked again. So, anyways, Lori, all right, this is a good. I just saw the first sentence and I thought this is a good question. What is the release for the 8-year-old? What deflates the balloon? My reception came in and out. I may have missed it. Well, so to me, what deflates the balloon is, it can be a series of things. So let me give you an example of this. We had this older dog with us. He came to us when he was 10 for boarding, and he had 0 social skills. Eventually, we had come to learn that his desire and his gruffness around other dogs was this social pressure. So once we understood that, and we're shown and we're taught that, then we understood that this guy actually just needed to get out in the group, sniff some butts for 10 minutes, and then go back in his kennel, and he's like out for 2 hours. So in his case, to deflate his balloon was he just needed time with the dogs. What's it gonna take? I just want to come out here and sniff a little bit, see who's out here, check in. Okay, I think I'm ready to go back to my kennel and just crash for a couple hours. So to me, for this 8-year-old shepherd, he's going to need some interaction or activity of some sort to where he either can walk with another dog, because that social pressure isn't always going to get deflated from him playing with another dog. It can be him lying down next to another dog. It could be him walking with the dog. It could be him being crated next to another dog. It's life around dogs. That's what they want to do, and that's what they want to be, is have that life around dogs. So we have to just keep giving him little by little by little. Even if the balloon does this and goes back up, that's great. Eventually we want this balloon to go down and down and down and down. So where it does come back up, it's only coming to here, and that's it. And it's not blowing up to the point where it's gonna, get to be too much. Because that buildup of social pressure, if that dog comes in too hot to another dog, and that other dog tries to correct it, well, this guy's already this much with intensity. It's not gonna take much at all for that 8-year-old to be like, oh, hell no, you're not gonna do that to me. So we've got to deflate that intensity. The thing is, when you have an older dog, they don't have a lot of stamina. And that's a good thing. That's a bonus for us. We don't need to take that guy on a 5K to settle him down to get him to be social with other dogs. It may be a 15-minute walk up and down the driveway 10 times to deflate it a little bit, and then we can bring him in and have him be social. So there's a number of ways really that it can be done, Lori, but ideally it's social time, and it has to be structured too. Rules first. We have to teach them the rules of what we're doing, and today the rule was you need to walk next to each other, you get to sniff for a little bit, and then here's another dog for you to have rules with, Gemma, and then eventually they can kind of like be together. But if you're gonna act crazy, which he did a couple times, he'd kind of get close to the other dog and he starts doing the ruff, ruff, ruff thing and throwing his chin up. I walked away 20 feet, it stops the barking, and then I bring him back to within 10 feet of the dog. If you want to be calm, cool, and collected, you can stay here. If you want to act like a dumbass, we're gonna walk backward and come back to it again. So that's part of the reason that was my technique today. It worked, but these are just two dogs in this situation and this environment. So, Brosha, is there social pressure from the dogs around humans? Absolutely. Look, this 8-year-old is a handful to walk because he is a brute of a shepherd. So he has this built up social pressure. Guess what? This guy's like ready to go. Social pressure can come in this direction of just looking like a ton of energy, and it can also look like aggression too. But if it looks, he's got a ton of energy, man, that can be a handful to walk. But then when somebody comes over or comes into your house, here's this dog with all this like pressure built up, and there's somebody new in my house, he could lick you to death, he could lunge at you, he could bark at you, he could, run around the house with like a rocket ship. There's a number of ways that it can happen, for sure. So yes, there can definitely be social pressure around humans. Aaron, what age should you start socializing your dog? With what kind of dog personalities outside of your home? Aaron, Gemma was 8 weeks old when I first brought her to work. Now, I'm the owner. I get away with that because that's my dog. Normally, the dogs have to be 4 months in order to start socializing at our place. So the sooner the better. Now, as far as what kind of dog personalities outside of your home, that's where you want to try to find dogs that are going to match. And I think I put up a video today of 2 dogs that their play matched, and it's not easy to find, but you got to find the right energy when it comes along with it. And it takes some time. It may not be the first dog, it may not be the 10th dog, but ideally it's good to just walk them together first, and then create some sort of, look, the rules are going to be established first. You got to keep thinking that the rules of the game have to be established first before you can even tell them that they can go play the game, or that they tell each other you can go play the game. So yeah, it's all part of this social stuff. There's so many different variations of it. Regina, an anxiety question. Isn't your usual destructive anxiety? It isn't your usual destructive anxiety when I leave. She's fine if I leave. If I'm at my daughter's house and I go inside, she gets all nervous and she'll scratch the door to follow me, even if my husband is there. I can leave her at home fine or in the car fine. How can I make her not so depend on me? Well, that's going to be part of your relationship. So there's something going on in your relationship that says you have to be with me. It could be petting all the time. Look, I can't, Regina, I wish I could pinpoint this for you. I can't unless I watched you with your dog over a few hours. I'd have to see it to see what's going on. But for some reason, your dog feels that desire to constantly be with you. Probably almost to an unhealthy degree. But I'd have to see probably some videos in order to really be able to talk to you about it. Aaron, how do you help your geriatric dog from being overwhelmed by a new puppy's energy? You got to put that puppy on leash. That's all there is. That puppy has to be on leash. You have to stick up for your geriatric dog, so that puppy isn't all over the geriatric dog. Now, if that senior dog has the ability to correct the puppy, couple barks, couple growls, not making contact, not throwing, biting a hold of the dog, then sometimes you can let that happen. But that has to be, you have to be 100% sure that there's, like, your senior dog is bulletproof and they're not going to do anything wrong. So I can't tell you just let the old dog do its work, because we also have to stick up for him. Sometimes old dogs just don't have that ability anymore, depending on their physical well-being, or even sometimes mental. They don't have that ability to tell the other dog, hey, chill out. This is actually too much for me right now. So, Lori, consistent, controlled social interaction. Yep, absolutely. Regina, yeah, she's with you 24/7, so that's got to slow down. See, that's what I mean, is there's interactions going on. So, this is a dog that should probably start to get some crate time. I'm guessing probably since you either got that dog as a puppy or as a rescue, that they're always with you. And, crating has to come probably back into play, slowly but surely. It's just, that's all there is to it. So, all right, chock full of stuff tonight, you guys. So I just wanted to kind of tell you about that. That was like a massive brain dump for me, but I hope you enjoy it. Sorry I missed you last week. I was so sick. You probably can hear a little bit. I'm just about over it, but not completely. But clearing up, on the up and up, for sure. So again, you guys, I want you to have a great night. This is going to end up on YouTube, so if you're on YouTube watching this, please subscribe. I'm slowly working. I got some stuff kind of in the works here, you guys, as far as the YouTube channel, videos, and all that kind of stuff. Be patient with me, because I think it's going to help out a lot. I want to educate as many people about social interactions with dogs as I can. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. So you guys have a great night, and as always, think about this. As always, go slow to go fast. See ya.